I can do to support those activities and integrate them without the pain that I've been feeling in my low back. So today, I'm going to do some leg line strengthening and stretching because I find that when my low back hurts, it often has to do with how I'm supporting my body with my belly and my legs. So, um, so that's what we're going to focus on today. Maggie is almost 17 months old, and she's over 23 pounds and 33 inches. So she's pretty big. But this is a Rhapsody stretch hybrid called Aphrodite, and she picked it out. I actually gave her the choice of another Rhapsody, a Breeze called Freya, and she picked this one over that one. I think she likes how soft this is. It's like a t-shirt material, and it has a little bit of stretch, but not that much. So it's stretchy enough that when I move, I don't feel restricted, but not so stretchy that it doesn't support the weight of my toddler. Yay, Maggie. So she's clapping, yay. So we're going to start by making sure that our heels and our ankles are right underneath our hip sockets. I know you probably can't see my feet. I don't have the right space for that in the video, but imagine your feet right underneath your hip sockets and point the toes straight ahead so that the edges, the outer edges of your feet are parallel. She's looking to make sure. And then you're going to bend your knees and allow the knees to point straight ahead also, right over the toes. And then you lengthen. I like to exhale when I bend and inhale when I lengthen, although you might find that you prefer the other breath pattern. And as I'm doing this, I'm paying extra attention to the tracking of my knees forward over my toes because knees are only made to bend, open, and close, right? They're not made to twist. And when we twist them, we get into trouble. So by making sure I track the knees straight ahead over my toes, I'm strengthening the outer and inner leg lines around the knees. And that's going to help a lot of things, right? Then I'm going to press into the balls of the feet and lift the heels like a releve in a dance class. Lower the heels, bend the knees, straighten. Press into the toes, lifting the heels, lower the heels, bend the knees, straighten, lift, lower, bend. And similarly, straighten. When I lengthen up onto my toes, I'm trying to make sure my ankles stay straight up and down. If they bend out or in, I'm overstretching ligaments on one side of the ankle. So by making sure that the ankle joint is staying straight up and down, I'm strengthening the ankle to support the weight of me and my girl and whatever heavy thing I'm lifting to help my mom. So strengthening the inner and outer leg lines in this way creates more support for whatever else you're doing. And then I'm going to step my feet a little wider than my hips. And my toes are going to turn out a little. You're sleepy, huh? It's almost nap time. It's in the morning here, and I thought we'd do this before nap time. We'll see if we maybe start nap time while we do this. Sometimes it goes that way, right? So I'm making sure that my toes only turn out as much as my hips can turn out. If I turn the toes out farther than my hips can turn out, my knees aren't going to be able to track over the toes without twisting. So here too, I'm trying to protect the knee joint by making sure the knees bend straight out over the toes. So I'm doing the same bending and lengthening of the legs, and I'm making sure the knees are pointing in the same direction as my toes. And then just like any other position of the feet, I'm going to lift the heels, lower the heels, bend the knees, straighten the knees, lift the heels, lower the heels, bend the knees, straighten the knees. One more. And here too, I'm making sure that the ankles stay vertical when I lift the heels. She's getting so sleepy. So now I'm going to face this chair. And my toes are going to point right in the direction of the chair. My hips are going to point right in the direction of the chair. You could use a table too if your hamstrings are more flexible. That's a little hard with a baby on your belly. So you might prefer a chair. Depending on your height too, I'm only 5 feet tall, so if you're 6 feet tall, you might need the table to get the same effect I'm getting with the chair. But I'm lifting one leg onto the chair, and I'm lowering that lifted leg's hip so that my hips are square left to right. And I'm feeling my standing toes pointing straight ahead. I'm feeling the weight over the four corners of my standing foot. And then I inhale to feel all the length of my spine. And I exhale and lead with the belly, and then the low ribs, and then the heart as I lean forward. My tail to crown is staying really straight and long. I'm not rounding through the back. And I'm sending my tail way out behind me while keeping my hips square so that I get a nice hip flexor stretch and hamstring stretch. And then inhale and rise up. Step that foot down and lift the other leg onto the chair. And here too, I'm going to square my hips. So I'm going to lower the lifted leg's hip so that it's in line with the other hip. I'm going to feel all my length on the inhale. And as I exhale, I start with the base of the spine, the belly, the low ribs, the heart. I lean forward with a straight spine, sending the tail behind me. I feel the stretch in the hamstrings and in the outer lifted leg hip. My standing foot toes are pointing straight ahead, so I'm really making sure there's a little internal rotation in my thighs. That's what helps the alignment stay safe in the body. Once you've stretched that way, you'll turn your side to the chair and you'll lift the leg onto the chair again. I'm going to shift my sleeping girl's foot so that we don't squish her leg. And I'm still going to lower my lifted leg's hip so that my hips are square. And now my standing foot toes are pointing straight ahead of me, but my lifted leg is externally rotated. So the two legs are in a very different position now from each other. Inhale and feel all of your length. And as you exhale, you just lean toward the lifted leg, supporting my girl's head so her sleeping doesn't get disturbed and her neck doesn't get hurt. Little sleeper. You're going to feel this stretch in both hips, but in a different way, left to right. You also feel it in the outer standing leg line and the inner lifted leg line. The inner thigh and the hamstrings of the lifted leg are getting a nice stretch here. And then inhale and lengthen up. That foot will come down and you'll turn the other way. So the other hip is facing your chair. You bring that leg up onto the chair. You shift your baby's leg out of the way if she's tall like mine. And you make sure your standing toes are pointing straight ahead and your lifted leg hip is grounded so that your two hips are square. You inhale to feel all your length. And you exhale to lean toward the lifted leg. Here too, I'm trying to keep my spine long, not curving it toward the leg. I'm lengthening it toward the leg. So I might not go that far, but I might find I can go farther the longer I breathe here. And I like to flex the lifted leg's foot so that my toes are pointing up toward the sky. This leg actually turned out too far. I've got to bring it back in a little bit to get the toes to point straight up to the sky. And then I get the inner thighs and the hamstrings, a nice stretch. Inhale and rise up. Exhale and put that foot down. Then you're going to face your chair again. And this time, you're going to turn the standing leg a little bit in, like a little pigeon-toed. And you're going to lift the other leg up onto the chair. And first thing, just like in the other ones, square the hips. So I'm going to lower the lifted leg's hips so that they're parallel, the two hips parallel to the floor. And I'm internally rotating both thighs here, flexing the top, the lifted leg's foot, so the toes point toward the sky. I inhale and I feel all my length, and I stay vertical as I twist toward the lifted leg. You start at the base of the spine, and you build it up from there. Now, if I wasn't wearing my baby, this twist would be deeper, and I might be able to piece finger clasp my big toe. You can see what that would look like, right? My leg would be up higher. There would be a bigger hamstring stretch. But it's also stretching the outer hip and the outer thigh of the lifted leg So you're doing the outer leg line now. And it's a good stretch even if it's not the full stretch. It's the baby wearing version. Then you switch legs, internally rotating the standing leg a little bit and squaring the hips, flexing the lifted leg's foot. You inhale and then you start to twist in the direction of the lifted leg. You start at the base of the spine and you let the twist build up from there so that eventually you might even look out past your lifted arm behind you.